Caitanya wanders in the garden, mistaking it for Vṛndāvana. So we are continuing this second part of the class, and it is under the section. Yeah, we read some in. We had already read a few verses. Remember, Gurmanj?
There's 24 verses left, right?
6 left.
Yeah, we had 6 left from the bottom.
That's
So
right.
6 or 8. So it was like either 28 or 38.
Lord Caitanya is known as Mahaprabhu,
So Lord Caitanya is known as Mahaprabhu,
the great spiritual master.
the great spiritual master.
And he's showing how to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So he is showing how to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
The scripture tells us we should love God.
Every scripture tells us we should love God.
But the process of Bhakti Yoga is telling us, showing us how to love God.
But the process of Bhakti Yoga is telling us and showing us how to love God.
So, Lord Caitanya is already expressing his love of Godhead
So Lord Caitanya is already expressing his love of Godhead
to such an extent that he's almost mad in love of God.
to such an extent that he is almost mad in love of Godhead.
So, he saw a garden, he mistook it for the groves in the spiritual world,
So when he saw a garden, he mistook it as the groves in the spiritual world.
and he started talking to the trees.
And
Where's Krishna? Where's Supreme Person?
he started talking to the trees and asking them, where is Krishna? Where is the Supreme Person?
Although normally one doesn't talk to trees and doesn't expect the trees to answer.
Although normally one doesn't talk to trees and doesn't expect trees to get an answer,
Give an answer.
to give an answer.
But he's mad after the Supreme Person.
But he was mad after the Supreme Person.
So he did things which were extraordinary.
So he did things which were extraordinary.
These are recorded in the Chaitanya Charitamrita,
These were recorded in the Chaitanya Charitamrita,
which is written in Sanskrit and Bengali,
which is written in Sanskrit and Bengali,
which has been translated by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
which has been translated by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Are you in the right place? Read it.
Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Anjalila, chapter 15, text 62.
বিশাখা প্রতি কৃষ্ণ দর্শন তৃষ্ণার্থ শ্রী রাধার বাক্য বিশাখারে রাধা জয়ছে শ্লোক কহিলা সেই শ্লোক মহাপ্রভু পড়িতে লাগিলা.
Translation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then recited the following verse, which was spoken by Srimati Radharani to her dear friend Vishaka.
Srimati Radharani is the pleasure potency of the Supreme Lord.
So Srimati Radharani is the pleasure potency of the Supreme Lord.
Considered the most exalted loving devotee of the Lord.
Is considered the most exalted, loving devotee of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila, chapter 15, text 63.
চিত্র জল্পোক্তি গোবিন্দ লীলামৃতে 8 নম্বর শ্লোকে 4 নম্বর 8 নম্বর অধ্যায়ের 4 নম্বর শ্লোকে শ্রী রাধিকা বাক্য
Translation to the verse. My dear friend, the luster of Krishna's body is more brilliant than that of a newly formed cloud, and his yellow dress is more attractive than newly arrived lightning. A peacock feather decorates his head, and on his neck hangs a lovely necklace of brilliant pearls. As he holds his charming flute to his lips, his face looks as beautiful as the full autumn moon. By such beauty, Madan Mohan, the enchanter of Cupid, is increasing the desire of my eyes to see him. Purport: this verse is also found in the Govinda Lilamrita 8.4.
So Radharani is praising the beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So Radharani is praising the beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Normally, it is a mystery what Supreme Lord looks like.
Normally, it's a mystery what the Supreme Lord looks like.
Many people speculate that he's impersonal,
Many people speculate that he is impersonal,
but we find that since we are people, he's not less than we are.
but we find that since we are people, he is not less than what we are.
We are minute, made in the image of the Supreme Person.
We are minute, made in the image of the Supreme Person.
He, by definition, he's all beauty, all knowledge, all strength,
By definition, he is all beauty, all knowledge, all strength,
all wealth, all fame, and all enunciation.
all wealth, has all the fame, and all renunciation.
Some people generally pray to him for blessings of wealth or blessing of something material.
So people generally pray for him for blessings of wealth, blessings of material things.
But actually, the highest perfection is to have pure love and service for the Supreme Person.
But actually, the highest perfection is to have pure love and service for the Supreme Person.
Radharani, she's describing some of the beautiful features of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So Radharani, she is describing some of the beautiful features of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila, chapter 15, text 64.
শ্লোকার্থ কৃষ্ণ রূপ বর্ণন চিত্র জল্প নবঘন স্নিগ্ধ বর্ণ দলিতাঞ্জন চিক্কণ ইন্দিবর নিন্দি সুকোমল যিনি উপমার গণ হরে সবার নয়ন কৃষ্ণকান্তি পরম প্রবল
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, Sri Krishna's complexion is as polished as powdered eye ointment. It surpasses the beauty of a newly formed cloud, and it is softer than a blue lotus flower. Indeed, his complexion is so pleasing that it attracts the eyes and minds of everyone, and it is so powerful that it defies all comparison.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a great master
So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a great master.
is showing how naturally one should appreciate the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
He is showing how naturally one should appreciate the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
That his beauty is so profound.
His beauty is so profound
That he naturally attracts the eyes and heart of everyone.
that he naturally attracts the eyes and heart of everyone. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila, chapter 15, text 65.
কহ সখী কি করো উপায় কৃষ্ণোদ্ভূত বলা হোক মোর নেত্র চাতক না দেখি পিয়াসে মরি যাই।
My dear friend, please tell me what I should do. Krishna is as attractive as a wonderful cloud. Eyes are just like chataka birds, which are dying of thirst because they do not see such a cloud.
Chantal birds only drink water which falls as rain cloud.
Chataka birds only drink water which falls from the rain cloud.
So if they don't see a cloud, they are very anxious.
So if they don't see a cloud, they are very anxious.
And so that kind of intense desire one should have. This is the Supreme Lord.
So that kind of intense desire one should have to see the Supreme Lord.
We chant His holy names, engage in the Sankirtan, because the name of the Lord and the Lord are not different.
We chant His holy names, we engage in the Sankirtan because the names of the Lord and the Lord are non-different.
So, and then there's some very esoteric texts like this one, which actually describe that the Lord is a person and he has beautiful personal qualities.
So there's some very esoteric verses like this one which describe that the Lord is very beautiful. And Guru Maharaj, I'm sorry, I forgot the last part.
As I was saying, there are very esoteric texts which describe
As I was saying, there are very esoteric texts which just describe
actual qualities of the Supreme Person,
the actual qualities of the Supreme Person,
His personal feature.
His personal features.
In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it mentions that the Lord has three features.
In Srimad Bhagavatam, it mentions that the Lord has three features.
His impersonal feature,
His impersonal feature,
His all-pervasive feature, He's present in everyone's heart and every atom.
so that's the all-pervasive feature. Then He's also present in everyone's heart and every atom.
And then His personal feature,
And then His personal feature,
which is the most confidential.
which is the most confidential.
That although sometimes it says Lord is all merciful, He's all kind,
Although a lot of times it says that the Lord is all merciful, all kind.
yeah, He's very just,
He's very just,
things like that.
things like that.
I don't think of a merciful light bulb,
But we don't think about like a merciful light bulb,
something impersonal.
something impersonal.
Mercy means it's a person.
Mercy means it's a person.
And so, Radharani, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has seen the Lord in a, that he is not only the Supreme Lord,
So Radharani, Lord Chaitanya, he's seeing the Supreme Lord, that he's not only the Supreme Lord,
he's the most wonderful person.
he's the most wonderful person.
Why do we worship him?
Why do we worship him then?
He's the most beautiful, wonderful, and everything about him.
Because he's the most beautiful, the most wonderful.
So, we're hearing from the mouth of Lord Chaitanya how he's realizing the glories of the Supreme Person.
So we are hearing from the mouth of Lord Chaitanya how he realizes the Supreme Person.
He calls the Supreme Person by different names,
He calls the Supreme Person by different names.
and many in Sanskrit,
The meaning in Sanskrit,
which these names mean more beautiful than Cupid.
which these names mean the most beautiful than Cupid,
More beautiful than Cupid.
more beautiful than Cupid.
And like Krishna means the all attractive,
Like Krishna means the all attractive,
are all happiness.
reservoir of all happiness.
So every name means something.
So every name means something. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Anjalila, chapter 15, text 66.
কৃষ্ণ রূপের উপমা সৌদামিনী পীতাম্বর স্থির নহে নিরন্তর মুক্তাহার বক পাতে পাতি ভালো ইন্দ্রধনু শিখি পাখা উপরে দিয়াছে দেখা আর ধনু বৈজয়ন্তী মাল
Krishna's yellow garments look exactly like restless lightning in the sky, and the pearl necklace on his neck appears like a line of herons flying below a cloud. Both the peacock feather on his head and his Vaijayanti garland containing flowers of 5 colors resemble rainbows.
All the details of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead's features,
So all the details of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's features
are transcendental,
are transcendental.
spiritual,
They're spiritual.
and so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is meditating on these qualities of the Lord.
So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's meditating on the qualities of the Lord
A very poetic language,
in a very poetic language.
like to help. Actually, there's nothing you can't compare anything material, but
Actually, there's nothing, you can't compare anything material.
what Chaitanya is trying to give some indication.
But Lord Chaitanya is trying to give some indication.
Like I mentioned, the Chataka bird looking for a cloud,
Like it mentions the Chataka bird looking for the cloud,
some herons, some migratory birds flying,
some herons, some migratory birds flying below the cloud.
in certain ways. These things might be very beautiful.
Certain ways, these things may be very beautiful.
How the Lord wears a flower garland with 5 colors.
How the Lord wears a flower garland of 5 colors.
One as the Vṛndāvana
known as the Vajjayanti Mala
or garland.
or garland.
And this resembles a rainbow
This resembles a rainbow.
and all the beautiful things
So all the beautiful things
exist in this world.
exist in this world.
There and some are stuck in the Supreme Lord.
They're in some respect in the Supreme Lord.
But more, actually, these are just indicative. Actually, He's Lord beautiful.
Actually, these are just indicative. Actually, he is more beautiful.
And that's how Lord Caitanya, He had developed His love for Lord Caitanya to such an extent
So Lord Caitanya, he has developed his love for Chaitanya to such an extent,
for the Supreme Lord,
for the Supreme Lord to such an extent,
that He is expressing this in this relative figurative language.
that he's expressing this in his poetic figurative language. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Lila, chapter 15, text 67.
মুরলীর কলধ্বনি মধুর গর্জন শুনি বৃন্দাবনে নাচে ময়ূর চয় অকলঙ্ক পূর্ণকল লাবণ্য জ্যোৎস্না ঝলমল চিত্রচন্দ্রের তাহাতে উদয়.
Translation: the luster of Krishna is as beautiful as the glow of a spotless full moon that has just risen, and the vibration of his flute sounds exactly like the sweet thundering of a newly formed cloud. When the peacocks in Vṛndāvana hear that vibration, they all begin to dance.
Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
So Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
He may play on His flute,
he made his flute,
and that produces a sound vibration which is completely out of this world.
and that produces a sound vibration which is completely out of this world.
The peacocks are dancing. Everybody goes mad at His wonderful melodies.
The peacocks are dancing. Everyone goes mad at his wonderful melodies.
So, if you tell someone you love this person,
Even if you tell someone you love this person,
and then you say, well, what's the person like?
then you say, well, what's the person like?
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery.
Well, you should love him.
Well, you should love him.
Well, what does he look like?
What does he look like?
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery.
Everything you say is a mystery. It's a mystery.
Everything you say, it's a mystery. It's a mystery.
Then how will you love him?
Then how will you love him?
Just like if you tell someone how you love this lady,
Just like if you're telling someone, how do you love this lady?
what does she look like?
What does she look like?
It's a secret.
Shh. It's just a mystery.
You wonder,
Then you wonder, well, what?
Lord Caitanya, he actually realized the Supreme Lord
So Lord Caitanya, he actually realized the Supreme Lord.
and awakened in love.
And
He awakened in love.
he awakened his love.
So he's showing us how a person who loves the Supreme Lord
So he's showing us how a person who loves the Supreme Lord
actually behaves, actually thinks.
actually behaves, actually thinks.
Now this is very purifying,
Now this is very purifying.
and this is a kind of inspiration for us.
So this is a kind of inspiration for us
Develop this level of God consciousness,
to develop this level of God consciousness,
Krishna consciousness.
Krishna consciousness. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ancha Lila, chapter 15, text 68.
কৃষ্ণ দর্শন সুখ বঞ্চিত শ্রী রাধার স্থিয় দুর্ভাগ্য বর্ণন লীলামৃত বরিশনে সিন্ধে চৈদ্য ভুবনে হেন মেঘ যবে দেখা দিল দুর্দৈব ঝম্প পবনে মেঘে নিল অন্য স্থানে মোরে চাতক পিতা পিতে না পাইল।
The cloud of Krishna's pastimes is drenching the 14 worlds with a shower of nectar. Unfortunately, when that cloud appeared, a whirlwind arose and blew it away from me. Being unable to see the cloud, the Chataka bird of my eyes is almost dead from thirst.
So, Lord Caitanya is expressing his feeling of separation.
So Lord Caitanya is expressing his feeling of separation.
How Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is so attractive, so beautiful,
How Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is so attractive and so beautiful.
and how somehow he's not visible to Lord Caitanya
And how somehow he's not visible to Lord Chaitanya
at that moment.
at this moment.
And therefore, he is feeling great separation.
And therefore he is feeling great separation.
He's showing us how, as we develop this intense desire to see, to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
He's showing us how we can develop this, if we develop this intense desire to see, to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
and actually then, by that we become spiritually enlightened.
actually then by that we become spiritually enlivened.
So, it's showing us how to serve in separation.
So he's showing us how to serve in separation. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ancha Lila, chapter 15, text 69.
রামানন্দের প্রভুর ভাবোপয়োগী শ্লোক পাঠ স্বয়ং প্রভুর তদ্দক্ষ পুন কহে হায় হায় পর পর রাম রায় কহে প্রভু গদ গদ আখ্যানে রামানন্দ পরে শ্লোক শুনি প্রভুর হর্ষ শোক আপনে প্রভু করেন ব্যাখ্যানে।
In a faltering voice, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again said, "Alas, go on reciting, Rama Roy." Thus, Ramananda Roy began to recite a verse. While listening to this verse, the Lord was sometimes very jubilant and sometimes overcome by lamentation. Afterwards, the Lord personally explained the verse.
So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had different assistants,
So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had different assistants,
like Ramananda Rai and Sudhamar.
like Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar.
Ramananda Rai would read these confidential verses.
So Ramananda Roy would read these confidential verses.
Sudhamar would sing esoteric songs.
Swarup Damodar would sing esoteric songs.
Ramananda Rai, by reading some verse, he gave Lord Chaitanya ecstasy.
So Ramananda Roy, while reading some verse, he gave Lord Chaitanya some ecstasy
of love for Godhead.
of love of Godhead.
Sometimes he felt jubilant.
Sometimes he felt jubilant.
Sometimes he felt
Of the
শ্রীমদ্ ভাগবতে দশম স্কন্ধে 29 নম্বর অধ্যায়ের 39 নম্বর শ্লোক।
So, translation to the verse. Dear Krishna, by seeing your beautiful face decorated with tresses of hair, by seeing the beauty of your earrings falling on your cheeks, and by seeing the nectar of your lips, the beauty of your smiling glances, your two arms, which assure complete fearlessness, and your broad chest, whose beauty arouses conjugal attraction, we have simply surrendered ourselves to becoming your maidservants. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This verse, quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.29.39, was spoken by the gopis when they arrived before Krishna for the rasa dance.
it says that Scripture describes how in the liberated state one can serve a Supreme Lord in 5 different relationships.
So the scriptures describe that in the liberated state, one could serve the Supreme Lord in 5 different relationships.
One is neutral,
One is neutral,
which means you just appreciate the greatness of the Lord.
which means you just appreciate the greatness of the Lord.
And you can glorify that, pray to Him.
You can glorify that, pray to Him.
Next thing is dasya. That's doing service to the Lord.
Next thing is dasya, doing service to the Lord.
Where you may hear the Lord, may sing the Lord's glories, may remember the Lord.
You can hear the Lord, sing the Lord's glories, remember the Lord,
Do different services
do different services
of 9 types.
of 9 types.
Then next relationship is friendship,
So next relationship is friendship,
sakya.
sakya.
That means considering the Lord as a friend.
That means considering the Lord as a friend.
There's 2 levels of friends.
There are 2 levels of friends.
One is more formal, personal,
One is more formal, official, acceptable,
and one is very intimate.
and one is very intimate.
And so the Lord actually, everybody worships Him, everybody appreciates His greatness.
So the Lord, actually, everyone worships Him, everyone appreciates His greatness.
But actually, He likes some relationships which they just love Him.
Actually, He likes some relationships where they just love Him.
So there's 2 aspects of the Lord is worship as the greatest, and where the Lord is loved.
So there are 2 aspects where the Lord is just worshipped as the greatest and where the Lord is worshipped with love.
So, and the 3 of the love, without much importance to the position and greatness of the Lord.
So there are 3 aspects of the relationship with the Lord without much consideration of the greatness and respect of the Lord.
It's more the personal love of the Lord,
It's more the personal love of the Lord,
based on this. The first is the friendship.
So the first is the friendship.
And there's a parental love
Then there's parental love.
that the Lord assumes the form of a baby or youth.
Where the Lord, he assumes the form of a baby, a youth.
Some devotee poses as his mother or father,
Some devotee poses as his mother, father,
and by his spiritual potency, they just see the Lord in that relationship.
so by his spiritual potency, they just see the Lord in that relationship.
And so these pastimes, Lord has many pastimes with friends and parents,
So these pastimes, there are many pastimes as the Lord with his friends, his parents,
and he also has the fifth kind of relationship, a conjugal,
so he also has the fifth kind of relationship, it's conjugal,
which is one of his wives and Dwarka,
like which is one his wives in Dwarka,
or his goldie friends, girlfriends, and Vṛndāvana.
or his gopi friends, his girlfriends in Vrindavan.
And they don't care, maybe they don't. They don't care that he's the Supreme Lord.
They don't care, maybe they know, but they don't care that he's the Supreme Lord.
They love him
They love him
for his quality.
for his qualities.
You know, so that's the level that Lord Caitanya is on at.
So that is the level that Lord Caitanya is on.
Mahaprabhu,
Mahaprabhu,
the great spiritual master.
the great spiritual master.
He's showing us how we can love a Supreme Person of Godhead.
He's showing us how we can love the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila, chapter 15, text 71.
শ্লোকার্থ গোপীর প্রতি কৃষ্ণের রূপ মাধুর্যের বল প্রযোগ বর্ণন চিত্রজল্প কৃষ্ণ যিনি পদ্মচাঁদ পাতিয়াছে মুখ ফাঁদ তাতে অধর মধুস্মিত চার ব্রজ নারী আসি আসি ফাঁদে পড়ি হয় দাসী ছাড়ি লাজপতি ঘরদ্বার
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, after conquering the moon and the lotus flower, Krishna wished to capture the doe-like gopis. Thus he spread the noose of his beautiful face, and within that noose he placed the bait of his sweet smile to misguide the gopis. The gopis fell prey to that trap and became Krishna's maidservants, giving up their homes, families, husbands, and prestige.
Krishna appeared as son of Devaki and Vasudeva,
So Krishna appeared as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva,
and he manifested his four-handed form with all the weapons, the facilities of the Supreme Person of Godhead.
he manifested his four-handed form with all the weapons, the facility of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
And because he wanted to prove to them that he was the Supreme Lord,
Because he wanted to prove to them that he was the Supreme Lord.
they had worshipped him and prayed for the blessing to have a son.
So they had worshipped him and prayed to have a son like him.
But he said there's no one like him.
But he said there is no one like him.
He would become their son for 3 births.
So he'd become their son for 3 births.
This is the third birth.
So this is the third birth.
he told his so-called father to transfer him
So he told his so-called father to transfer him
to the home of Nanda and Yashoda.
to the home of Nanda and Yashoda.
And so he assumed a baby form
And so he assumed a baby form
and was taken by Vasudeva to the home of Yashoda and Maharaj.
So he is taken by Vasudev to the home of Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj.
And Yashoda Devi had just given a name, just given birth to a baby girl.
And Yashoda Devi had just given a birth to a baby girl,
She didn't know a boy or girl.
but she didn't know it was either a boy or a girl.
And the actor later was so tiring, he just fell asleep.
And in the act of labor, it was so tiring that she just fell asleep.
So Vasudeva put down baby boy, Krishna, the Supreme Person of Godhead,
So Vasudeva put down the baby boy Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
and took the girl with him.
and took the girl with him.
So in this way, the parents didn't know that the foster parents, Nanda and Yashoda, didn't know that he was the Supreme Person.
So the parents, the foster parents, Nanda and Yashoda, didn't know that he was a Supreme Person.
He grew up in Vṛndāvana under their care and love.
So he grew up in Vrindavan under their care and love.
And the great astrologer, Gargamuni, he came and read his chart.
So a great astrologer, Gargamuni, he came and read his chart.
He saw that he was the Supreme Person.
He saw that it was the Supreme Person.
But he couldn't tell that to the parents.
But he couldn't tell that to the parents.
He said, "This, your son, will have the power of the Supreme Lord.
He said that this, your son, will have the power of the Supreme Lord.
He'll be very good for your coward boys, man,
He will be very good for your coward men."
and the whole coward village."
Gokul is called the coward village.
So when Krishna, 7 years of age, he lifted up the whole mountain.
So when Krishna was 7 years of age, he had lifted up a whole mountain on one finger,
Govardhan.
called the Govardhan.
In the Houston temple, they have the Govardhan Shila,
So in the Houston temple, they have the Govardhan Shila,
just to represent the Govardhan Hill.
just to represent the Govardhan Hill.
The hill is still there in Vṛndāvana.
The hill is still there in Vrindavan.
Krishna lifted up the whole hill and protected all the villages from flood.
Krishna lifted up the whole hill and protected all the villagers from a great flood.
And the cowherd men, they came to Nandaraj. So who is your son?
And the coward men, they came to Nanda Maharaj and said, "Who is your son?"
He just lifted the whole mountain with one finger.
He just lifted the whole mountain with one finger. Don't tell us he's just your ordinary son.
Who is he?
Who is he?
And they said, I was told by Gangamuni, the great astrologer, that he has the power of the Supreme Lord.
I was told by the great astrologer Gargamuni that he has the power of the Supreme Lord.
And
And I said, "Oh, that's all right."
well, how does he have the power of the Supreme Lord?
But how does he get the power of the Supreme Lord?
He was the Supreme Lord.
He was the Supreme Lord. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila, chapter 15, text 72.
বান্ধব কৃষ্ণ করে ব্যাধেরও আচার, নাহি মানে ধর্মাধর্ম, হরে নারী মৃগী মর্ম, করে নানা উপায় তাহার।
My dear friend, Krishna acts just like a hunter. This hunter does not care for piety or impiety. He simply creates many devices to conquer the cores of the hearts of the doe-like gopis.
As I said, the five kinds of relationships with the Supreme Lord.
As I said, there are 5 kinds of relationships with the Supreme Lord.
Everything that exists in the material world is there in the spiritual world.
Everything that exists in the material world is there in the spiritual world.
And here things are a kind of perverted reflection.
But here things are kind of like a perverted reflection.
Because they exist in the spiritual world, in the kingdom of God,
Because they exist in the spiritual world, in the kingdom of God,
in the pure form,
in its pure form,
they exist here also.
they exist here also.
But they're only partial perverted reflections.
But they're only partial perverted reflections.
So, because in this world you have things like relationship between men and women.
Because in this world, like you have relationships between man and woman.
So in the spiritual world, you have the Supreme Person that got it, and he has relationships with different types of devotees.
And so in the spiritual world, you have the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has his relationships with different devotees.
And so it's getting the quality that for each devotee, he reciprocates with their love for him.
So he's giving the quality that with each devotee, he reciprocates with their love for him
In an appropriate way.
in an appropriate way.
And he likes to relate with the different devotees in an appropriate way.
He likes to relate with the different devotees in an appropriate way.
Those devotees that want to serve the Lord in a conjugal relationship,
Those devotees who want to serve the Lord in a conjugal relationship,
he relates to them in a appropriate way.
he relates with them in a more appropriate way. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Lila, chapter 15, text 73. The earrings.
গন্থস্থল ঝলমল নাচে মকর কুণ্ডল, সেই নৃত্যে হরে নাচি নারী চয়, সস্মিত কটাঙ্খ বানে তা সবার হৃদয়ে হানে, নারী বোধে নাহি কিছু ভয়।
The earrings dancing on Krishna's cheeks are shaped like sharks, and they shine very brightly. These dancing earrings attract the minds of all women. Over and above this, Krishna pierces the hearts of women with the arrows of his sweetly smiling glances. He is not at all afraid to kill women in this way.
So I'm at the end of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, end of the compilation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes.
So I'm at the end of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the end of the compilation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes.
And I would not be complete without explaining these aspects also.
And I would not be complete without explaining these aspects also.
that there's nothing that we have not there in a pure form in the Supreme Person's character.
There's nothing that we have that there is in the pure form in the spiritual world,
In the Supreme Person's Godhead.
in the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So, this material world is like a prison house.
This material world is like a prison house.
We're all trying to enjoy this material world.
We are all trying to enjoy this material world.
What I see in the spiritual world, and the only enjoyer is the Supreme Godhead.
But in the spiritual world, actually, the only enjoyer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
But the devotees and the different relationships also enjoy.
But the devotees in their different relationships also enjoy.
But they enjoy by serving, by pleasing,
But they enjoy by serving, by pleasing.
and so the things of this world are very insignificant,
So the things in this world are very insignificant.
and to actually develop our spontaneous love for the Supreme Lord
To actually develop our spontaneous love for the Supreme Lord
is the real perfection of life.
is the real perfection of life.
So, these things are being explained by Lord Caitanya and running to this garden, remembering
So these things are explained by Lord Caitanya, and
as he's wandering to the garden,
as he's wandering through the garden,
remembering the gardens in the spiritual world
remembering the gardens in the spiritual world
and the beautiful pastimes of the Lord there.
and the beautiful pastimes of the Lord there. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya-lila, chapter 15, text 74. Okay. So Gurmaj is going to take the break. She will continue to read. Gurmaj will be right back.
অতি উচ্চ সুবিস্তার লক্ষ্মী শ্রীবৎস অলঙ্কার কৃষ্ণের যে ডাকাতিয়া বক্ষ ব্রজদেবী লক্ষ লক্ষ তা সবারও মনোবক্ষ হরিদাসী করিবারে দক্ষ।
Translation. On Krishna's chest are the ornaments of the Srivatsa mark, indicating the residence of the goddess of fortune. His chest, which is as broad as a plunderer's, attracts thousands upon thousands of damsels of Vraja, conquering their minds and breasts by force. Thus, they all become maidservants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Savajay Madhapu, what's next? Okay.
Yeah, for him. Prabhu sing. You sing nicely. You should sing. Okay.
जय हो गुरु महाराज की जय। कृष्ण केशव कृष्ण केशव कृष्ण केशव पाहि माम। Everybody. राम राघव Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshama. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahi Mam. Guru Maharaj ki jai.
So, translation. Should I read the translation again? Can you show the translation? Has already read the translation. So, Jiva, Radha Jivan, you gotta move. Show the translation.
So Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu in describing the personal beauty of the Supreme Person of Godhead, Lord Krishna.
So, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing the personal beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna,
The vision of the maidservants.
from the vision of the maidservants.
They have a particular flavor of love for Krishna.
They have a particular flavor of love for Krishna.
And then there's 5 kinds of primary relationships.
I had mentioned there are 5 kinds of primary relationships,
And the conjugal one is the most developed of all the relationships.
and the conjugal one is the most developed of all the relationships. Sri Chaitanya.
So, are there any questions?
So, is there any questions?
We'll stop here and continue tomorrow.
So, we'll stop here and continue tomorrow. Any question?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisance. At your lotus feet. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. A wonderful class. Guru Maharaj, we talk about gopis' love for Krishna, unconditional love. They don't even think of Krishna as God. So they don't even, the gopis and Mother Yashoda and all, they don't even think of Krishna as God, but they love him so much because of his beauty and everything. So my question to you, Guru Maharaj, is what is so important, like rituals, rules, regulations, are loving Krishna 24 hours, remembering Krishna, serving Krishna, thinking about Krishna.
Uh, I mentioned there are 5 kinds of relationship.
You see, I had mentioned there are 5 kinds of relationships.
2.5 are very formal and respectful,
2.5 are very formal and respectful,
and 2.5 are very intimate and loving.
and 2.5 are very intimate and loving.
You can't think of yourself as a father or mother of the Supreme Lord.
You can't think of yourself as a father and mother of the Supreme Lord.
He, just like a rich person, he would like to be loved as a person, not for richness.
Just like a rich person, he'd like to be loved as a person, not as a rich person.
I mean, it must be very difficult for someone like Elon Musk.
It must be something very difficult, someone like Elon Musk,
Who really loves him or just is behaving with him because he's rich.
I mean, who really loves him? He's maybe they're just behaving with him like because he's very rich.
But in the spiritual world, Krishna uses yoga maya to make the devotees forget that he's the Supreme Lord.
But in the spiritual world, Krishna gives his yoga maya to make them forget that he is the Supreme Lord.
Like when he went to Mathura and he liberated the demon Kamsa,
Like when he went to Mathura, he liberated demon Kamsa,
and then his Devaki and Vasudeva, his parents, they're kind of awestruck because it's such a powerful demon. He was brutalized like Krishna.
Then his parents, Devaki and Vasudeva, they were awestruck because his son was killed. The demon, such a powerful demon, was killed by their son.
And then the Lord kills someone, and they automatically get liberation.
When the Lord kills someone, they automatically get liberation.
Vasudeva and Devaki, they're opening their pranam, they're respectful.
So Vasudeva and Devaki, they were opening their pranams. They were very respectful.
Krishna didn't want that.
But Krishna didn't want that.
He wanted them to act like parents.
He wanted them to act like his parents.
But to do that, they just seen them kill a demon that had been oppressing them for so long.
I mean, to do that, he had to kill a demon that had. They just saw that he killed a demon that had been suppressing them for so long.
And so, obviously, he's very powerful.
So obviously, he's very powerful.
And they remembered how he appeared to them as the Supreme Lord.
And they remembered him and greeted him as the Supreme Lord. How he appeared to them as the Supreme Lord.
And he sprinkled some lila dust.
So then he sprinkled some lila dust over them.
Oh, my dear son!
Oh, my dear son!
That's what we wanted to.
That's what they wanted.
The Supreme Lord can do things like that.
That's what he wanted. So the Supreme Lord, he can do things like that.
But he can make people forget who he is.
But he can make people forget who he is.
Just love him as a son and a friend.
Or just love him as a son or as a friend.
So like that. In Vṛndāvana, people love Krishna
So like that, in Vrindavan, people love Krishna.
and they don't think of him as God.
They don't think of him as God.
But even like Nanda Maharaj, he was arrested by, uh, in English we call it Neptune, but he was arrested by this, what's he called in Sanskrit?
Like Nanda Maharaj, he was arrested by the servants of Varuna.
Huh?
Servants of Varuna.
Okay, he was, and then they saw that Varuna, the angel of God of the water,
So then they saw that the angel, the god of water,
he was respecting Krishna Balaram.
he was respecting Krishna and Balaram.
They thought, just see how Varuna, how Neptune, how he appreciates my son.
Just see how Varuna, how Neptune appreciates my son.
Oh, he's such a nice son.
Oh, he's such a nice son.
He never thinks that why is this angel in charge of the oceans?
He never thinks that why is this angel, the in charge of the oceans?
Why is he lying down and all that respect?
Why is he bowing down and offering respects to Krishna?
He just sees it as a relationship with his father.
He just sees this as in his relationship as father.
Now, Krishna likes some places where people just love him,
So Krishna likes where some places people just love him,
and not because of his position,
and not because of his position,
not for some material reason.
not for some material reason.
I love him for what he is.
They love him for what he is,
Qualities.
his qualities.
So, to develop to this stage, it's nice to know that there's such a stage.
I mean, of course, to develop to this stage, I mean, first of all, it's nice to know that there is such a stage.
But actually, to reach that stage is no joke.
I mean, but naturally, to reach that stage is no joke.
I mean, it's a very big thing.
I mean, it's a very big thing.
And first, we bow down, we pray,
I mean, first we bow down, we pray,
we do different things.
we do different things, we chant the holy names.
And we have to get purified.
I mean, we have to get purified.
And unless we serve the Lord very faithfully,
I mean, I mentioned we serve the Lord very faithfully.
at some point, He can bless us, He can accept us,
At some point, He can bless us, He can accept us,
and we can realize our original position.
and we can realize our original position.
Are you a friend with Krishna, or you're a parent, or a lover?
Are we friends with Krishna, a parent? Are we a lover?
And those things are revealed in due course.
Those things are revealed in due course.
It's not that we just jump over that position.
It's not that we just jump up to that position.
For some people, it may take many, many worse.
For some people, it may take many, many births.
Born, die.
Born, dying.
Normally, people, they try to have happiness just in the material world.
I mean, normally people just try to have happiness in the material world.
They think, oh, I was rich, I'd be happy.
They think if I was rich, I'd be happy.
Next birthday, they'd be rich.
Next birth, they may be rich.
I think, oh, I'd be happy if I was a great football player.
Or then they'd think I'd be happy if I was a great football player.
They play football.
Next birth, they take and they're great at football.
Some people I heard Prabhupada say that Ravi Shankar, he was a musician for 7 births.
I heard Srila Prabhupada say that Ravi Shankar, he was a magician for 7 births.
7th birth, he became real famous, like all Beatles and all that.
In the 7th birth, he became world famous, the guru of the Beatles and all that.
So generally we take birth after birth after birth, depending on our material desires.
So generally, we take birth after birth after birth, depending on our material desires.
But the actual result, our desire to serve Krishna, to serve the Lord,
But if we actually desire to serve Krishna, to serve the Lord,
when we get that type of, we go back to the kingdom of God,
then we get that type, we go back to the kingdom of God.
released from this prison house of material life.
We are released from this prison house of material life.
But to do that, first to the reading mark, and then as we develop our love of God, it becomes a spontaneous love.
So to do that, we first go through the Vidi mark, and then it develops into the spontaneous love.
First, the rules and regulations. Do that, and it becomes like second nature.
We first do the rules and regulations, and then after some time, it becomes like second nature.
And then we actually develop our spontaneous love for the Lord
Then we actually develop our spontaneous love for the Lord.
in different levels.
And that's in different levels,
8 levels.
8 levels.
So first is 8 levels leading up to love, and then 8 levels of love.
So first there's 8 levels leading up to love, and then there's 8 levels of love.
Science.
So it's a science.
And it goes from faith, we listen,
It goes from faith, then we listen,
becomes some association with the enlightened souls,
and association with the enlightened souls.
sadhu sangha.
It's called sadhu sangha.
And we start to practice ourselves,
Then we start to practice ourselves.
called bhajana kriya.
It's called bhajana kriya.
Start to get rid of the unwanted habits and things.
Then we start to get rid of the unwanted habits and things.
It's called anartana vritti.
It's called anartana vritti.
Become very fixed in spiritual practices.
Then we become very fixed in spiritual practices.
That's nishta.
That's called nishta.
And then we develop a taste for serving the Lord.
Then we develop a taste for serving the Lord.
It's called ruchi.
It's called ruchi.
And we become attached to that spiritual taste.
Then we become attached to that spiritual taste.
It's called ashakti.
That's called ashakti.
And we develop ecstatic love for Krishna,
Then we develop ecstatic love of Krishna.
bhava.
That's called bhava.
And we have pure love for Krishna.
Then we have pure love for Krishna.
That's called prema.
That is called prema.
Prema has 8 levels.
Then prema has 8 levels.
What we're talking about here
That's what we're talking about here. What we are talking about here is the Mahabhav,
the highest level.
the highest level of pure love.
Rightly, Lord Caitanya, he's almost mad after Lord Krishna.
We're practically Lord Caitanya. He's almost mad after Lord Krishna.
So we have a long way to go.
So we have a long way to go.
Nice to hear that such a level exists.
So it's nice to hear that such a level exists. Could I introduce our new guest? Is that it? Sarvajan Madhav saying you can sprinkle a little of your lila dust so we all become.
I wish I don't have, you know.
I wish I had. I mean, I don't have. Guru Maharaj says,
I'm not Krishna.
I'm not Krishna.
It's a servant.
I'm just a servant,
Servant of the servant.
servant of the servant. Guru Maharaj, we have a new guest here.
Oh, look at that.
Could you just introduce just?
Today we went to eye doctor for Guru Maharaj. Yeah, quick. So Guru Maharaj, she was assisting Guru Maharaj. You want to get up if you don't mind, please? And then Abhay Prabhu started giving books as usually he distributed books. Guru Maharaj distributed 3 books there, 4 books today. And then she was very inspired after looking at Guru Maharaj. And then we invited her. So she came here. Who was preaching her there? You were talking to her? And actually your name, Guru Maharaj remembers very well. We were discussing your name all the way.
I know he told me. That was so cute.
You can see.
Yes. That's the one. Yeah, you're fine.
So
One of the Supreme Lord names is Kanai.
so one of the Supreme Lord's name is Kanai.
Do Kanai.
Do Kanai.
So in one way, your name also means the Supreme Lord.
So in one way, your name also means the Supreme Lord.
Dukkha. Nai.
And another way is Dukkha Nai.
Dukkha means distressed.
Dukkha means distress.
Dukkha Nai means no.
Nai means no.
Dukkha Nai. No.
Dukkha Nai means no distress. You just pronounce your name as
My name? Durkhane. 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 But it was such a pleasure, and everyone was so kind. I not only met you, but everybody, and from previous appointments too. I don't know where he was, but everyone was just so sweet, so humble, and I love how pure you guys were, and wearing the same outfit. It was just so simple, and it just shows the love of God, you know? Mhm. Yeah. It was so pure. hmm And I'm very thankful and blessed to be over here, so to learn from you guys all. And yeah, everyone was so kind. And I love this because you guys apply what you learn. So the knowledge gain, you apply it. Yeah, and it's so beautiful. Yeah, and I can see the connection, the purity, and it just radiates everywhere. So when you guys come in, I feel it. So I feel like it's my duty to take care of you guys. So I go above and beyond. Yeah. Aw. Yeah. Thank you.
I heard one of your parents was Afghanistani,
I heard one of your parents was Afghanistani.
another was Colombian.
Another was Colombian.
So you know Spanish?
So you know Spanish?
So you have here from we have from Chile.
We have here from Chile also.
A lot.
Hello?
I was saying how the women in Afghanistan they're not able to work or study
So I was saying, like, the women in Afghanistan, they were not able to work or study
under the Taliban.
under the Taliban.
So you couldn't like you have to cover their head and all that.
You have to cover your head and all that.
It's very tough.
It's very tough.
So
The culture over there, definitely. Blessed to be here and be able to study and have that.
well, I had a disciple, Azerbaijan.
From where?
Azerbaijan, what do you know? And
I have a disciple from Azerbaijan.
he's a PhD and he's a Muslim.
He's a PhD and he's a Muslim.
So I asked him if he could, because Lord Caitanya, he met 5 mullahs and princes and things,
I mean, Lord Caitanya, he met 5 mullahs and princes and things.
and he spoke from the Quran.
And he spoke from the Quran.
So he knew it by heart.
So he knew it by heart.
He instructed that Allah was the person,
So, and he instructed that Allah was a person,
and Allah was also impersonal.
but Allah was also impersonal.
I asked him, could he kind of give a show which of the surahs and ayahs of the Quran which state what Lord Caitanya was stating.
So I asked him could he state the shuras and ayahs to state what Lord Caitanya was stating.
He did that.
So he did that.
He also, he said that apparently there's a book called the Hadith,
Apparently there's a book called the Hadith,
which is kind of the pastime of Muhammad, peace be upon him.
which is Mahabandhan?
Muhammad.
Oh, which is a pastime of Muhammad.
And one day he was late for the namaz prayers in the morning.
One day he was late for the namaz prayers in the morning.
He said, I'm sorry I'm late.
He said, I'm sorry I'm late.
I fell asleep to my morning prayers.
I fell asleep in my morning prayers.
I woke up.
I woke up.
I saw Allah's hand on my shoulder.
I saw Allah's hand on my shoulder.
So he was saying actually, Allah is personal.
He was saying like how Allah was personal.
But most mullahs don't comment like that.
But most mullahs don't comment like that.
Anyway,
Anyways,
interesting.
interesting. There are more questions, Maharaj.
Okay, other questions? The only question you can ask.
Really nice. Ask any question.
I appreciate it. Yeah. So far, everything's been like very clear.
So far,
It's okay. You can go ahead. Yeah, you can.
Very expert.
Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances at your lotus feet. Thank you. Guru Maharaj, you mentioned 5 relationships. So my question is, in order to go back to Supreme Godhead, do we have to achieve all 5? Or if we are just in the first level of Sankhya or Dasya, we can still go back to Godhead?
Godhead. Do we have to go through all 5 relationships, or can we just have Shanta, or simply just go through Dasya?
Yeah. Fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita.
In the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita,
If you understand the Lord's appearance and his activities as transcendental,
if you understand the Lord's appearance and his activities are transcendental,
you go back to God.
you can go back to Godhead.
And how one of those 5 is your relationship.
If you have one of those 5 is your relationship.
Trees, the cause, and other things, they're Santa.
The trees, the cows, and other things, they are Shanta.
Hanuman, active servitors of Krishna, or Narayana, or different forms, they're in the Santa, they're in the Dajara.
Hanuman and active servants of Krishna or Narayan, they're in the Dasya.
Like Yudhishthira, he was respectful to Krishna, but he was like a friend.
Yudhishthira, he was respectful to Krishna, but he was like a friend.
And that's the other, like, friendly with respect.
So that's like they're friendly with respect.
And Sridham, Sudham, Sudal, all my friends.
Sridham, Sudam, Subal, coward boyfriends.
They were intimate friends of Krishna.
They were intimate friends of Krishna.
And so what your relationship, you may have a man relationship now, maybe a mother or a wife of Krishna.
So what your relationship is, you may be in man, but you have a relationship as a mother with Krishna.
Or a wife.
Or a wife. You're a physical man, but spiritually you may be a mother or wife.
Maybe a woman but you're a servant or a friend of Krishna.
You may be a woman, but you're a servant, a friend of Krishna.
In this body, actually the Atma, a spiritual living force, is who you really are.
Actually, the Atma, the spirit soul, the living force, is who we really are.
If you think of your wife when you die, you become a woman in your next life.
If you think of your wife when you die, you become a woman in your next life.
If you think of the husband, you become a man.
The wife thinks of her husband, she becomes a man.
What you think of at the time of death, that leads to the next birth.
So what do you think of at the time of death that will lead you to the eternal spirit?
What body you have now does not indicate what your spiritual relationship is with the Supreme Person of Godhead.
So what body you have now does not indicate what spiritual relationship you have with the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So you don't have to go through the 5.
So you don't have to go through the 5.
Just if you develop your service to Krishna, your understanding of the Supreme Person,
So just if you develop your service to Krishna, your understanding of the Supreme Person,
then you go to the spiritual world.
then you go to the spiritual world.
If you just appreciate the Lord in an impersonal way, you may end up in impersonal realization.
Just if you appreciate the Lord in an impersonal way, then you may end up in the impersonal form of the Lord.
It's said, most people, they don't think about God so much. If they do, they just pray that He may give them what they want materially.
But as I said before, that most people, they don't think of God so much, but if they do, they pray to God for things materially.
Those are millions of those ordinary people. One, he wants to know his actual spiritual who he is.
So out of millions of those, one who wants to know who he is spiritually.
One out of millions is a Guinea.
So one out of millions is a Gani.
Actually trying to understand their spiritual position.
They're actually trying to understand their spiritual position.
Out of millions of those, one is a mukta.
And out of a million of those, one is a mukta.
He or she actually liberated.
He's actually liberated.
And then out of a million muktas, one may be a devotee.
And out of millions of muktas, one may be a devotee.
Or they're actually, they awaken their relationship with Krishna.
They want to awaken their relationship with Krishna. They have awakened their relationship with Krishna.
So, so that all of you are present is a very special thing.
All of you that are present is a very special thing.
Lord Caitanya, he's giving out this love of Godhead very freely.
So Lord Caitanya is giving out this love of Godhead very freely.
Without considering who's qualified, who's unqualified.
Without considering who's qualified, who's unqualified.
That's why he's considered the most merciful incarnation of the Lord.
That's why he's considered the most merciful incarnation of the Lord.
So, otherwise, it'd be very difficult.
Otherwise, it would be very difficult.
But he made it very easy at this time.
So he's made it very easy at this time.
Dukana.
He wants you to ask any question, anything. Any general question.
Well, I did notice we have a lot of similarities when it comes to both of our religions. especially the garment, the orange. Like we wear the white, which symbolizes purity. And that we're all one, considered under God. And it doesn't matter what culture, what color skin you have, what status you're on in society. And, materialistic and all that. Like we're just simple. And so I've noticed that this is like almost the same as well. Yeah, and I thought that was really eye-opening for me. And this is the reason why I'm here, is because I love to get to understand everybody else's way of life or their purpose of their existence here. Because in the end, we're all the same. Like it's all love. We're all humans, and this is what I want to bring, is I want to bring love between everybody. And yeah, so being here and gaining this experience is everything to me. And it was a very eye-opening, humble feeling. Humbling feeling. I do actually have a question that just popped in my mind. Yeah. So do you guys believe in hell, or is it just, from what I was understanding, you were saying it was a spiritual world that you guys were?
See, in here it said 14 planetary levels.
So here it is said there is 14 planetary levels.
And so we're in the 7th.
So we are on the 7th.
Above us, there's 6 other levels.
So above us, there are 6 other levels.
So we're in the Bhu, the Bhuva,
So,
Swa.
so we are in Bhu, there is Bhuva and Swa.
Swa is heaven,
So Swa is heaven.
and lots of happiness.
So you can go and have lots of happiness, material.
But material happiness is more or less the same.
But material happiness is more or less the same.
But all happiness, little suffering.
But all happiness, little suffering.
And then beyond that, there's another 4 levels.
So then beyond that, there's another 4 levels.
Beyond that is the spiritual world.
And beyond that is the spiritual world.
There's no birth, no death, no illness, no disease.
There's no birth, no death, no old age, and no disease.
And everybody's in their love of God.
And everyone is in their love of God.
But in the material world, those are very pious, religious, but they want material happiness.
But in the material world, there are those who are very pious, very religious, but they want their material happiness.
They go out to the Swarga, heaven.
They go up to the Swarga, heaven.
Their good karma runs out, they come down.
But when their good karma runs out, they come back down.
Of the 7 lower planets.
But then there are 7 lower planets.
And they're less God conscious.
And they are less God conscious.
Below that, there's also hells.
And below that, there's also hells.
That if you are very sinful, then it may be some hell for some time, burn off your sins, and take birth again.
So if you're very sinful, you may be in some hell for some time, burn off all your sins, and then take birth again.
So we're trying to get the people out of this material world.
So we are trying to get people out of this material world.
And the way is to do sacrifice.
So the way is if you do sacrifice.
And the sacrifice for this day and age is chanting the holy names.
And the sacrifice for this day and age is the chanting of the holy names.
We believe there's only one God.
So we believe there's only one God.
You call him Allah or Jehovah or Krishna.
You call him Allah, Jehovah, or Krishna.
but there's one person.
But there's one person.
He has unlimited names.
He has unlimited names.
And in Malaysia, the Christians translated the Bible in Bahasa Malaysia.
In Malaysia, the Christians translate the Bible in Malaysia, the language of the Malaysians.
And there, instead of saying God, they said Allah.
So there, instead of saying God, they say Allah.
The Muslims objected to Allah is only for our Muslims.
But then the Muslims rejected. They said Allah is only for Muslims.
That's the word that they use for God.
But that's the word that they use for God.
Then in the parliament, they said we should be like the Hindus. They say God has thousands, unlimited names.
So then the parliament said we should be like the Hindus, that God has thousands and hundreds of names.
Millions.
Millions of names, hundreds of millions of names, unlimited.
Anyway, so
Anyways,
we don't ask anyone to give up. Those are Muslims or Christians or Jews or whatever.
so we believe we don't ask anyone to give up, those who are Muslims or Jews or whatever.
We consider that's like a high school, grade school, whatever. This is like PhD.
So we consider it's like high school, basic school, whatever. This is like PhD.
Just we're focused. Transfer people to the spiritual world, and all your love for God here.
So to be focused, just what people?
Transfer
Transfer the people and get love of Godhead. Go back to Godhead.
But it's there. It's in the 5th canto, that whole chapter on the health.
So it's there in the 5th canto. There's a whole chapter on hells.
And the structure of the universe.
In the structure of the universe.
So, why? If you have extramarital sex,
So there it says if you have extramarital sex,
then particular hell for that.
so then there's a particular hell for that.
If people just kill animals or kill, enjoying killing them,
If people just kill animals and enjoy killing them, like
there's a hell for that.
there's a hell for that.
If someone cheats someone else, there's all kinds of 26 different hells.
So if someone like cheats someone else, so just like that, there's like 26 different hells.
But sometimes some people are so sinful that they have architects that design special hell for that.
Sometimes people are so sinful that they have architects to design special hells for them.
What a job.
What a job.
Anyway,
Anyways,
so an interesting pastime of the person that judges, he's especially empowered by the Supreme Lord.
so there's an interesting pastime, like the person that judges, he's especially empowered by the Supreme Lord.
So his name is Yamaraj.
So his name is Yamaraj.
Today is a special day, Ekadashi.
So today is a special day, Ekadashi.
All the grains have sinful reactions.
All the grains have sinful reactions.
We don't eat grain.
So we don't eat grain, just today.
It's like we do this twice a month.
So we do this twice a month.
Some people fast. Some of these we don't take grains, cereals, or pulses.
So some people fast, but at least we don't take grains, cereals, or pulses.
So in a sense, like Ramadan, you observe fasting 1 month.
So in a sense, Ramadan, you observe fasting for 1 month.
You don't eat at night.
You only eat at night.
During the day.
You don't eat during the day.
We observe 26 days a year.
But we observe 26 days of the year
As Ekadashi fast.
as Ekadashi fast.
As you said, many similarities.
As he said, there are many similarities.
So everything is destroyed very detailed
I mean, it's described in very detailed
in the Srimad Bhagavatam,
in the Srimad Bhagavatam.
and how the greatest happiness is actually develop a love of God.
The greatest happiness is actually to develop our love of God.
I hope you come by regularly.
I hope you come by regularly.
This is his house.
This is his house.
Staying here for therapy.
I'm staying here for therapy.
Weekdays,
On the weekdays,
weekends, I sometimes in the Dallas Temple for class.
on the weekends, I sometimes go to the Dallas Temple for a class.
Sometimes I go to other places.
Sometimes I go to other places.
Last weekend I was in Houston and in New Orleans.
Last weekend, I was in Houston and New Orleans.
Next weekend I'll be in Detroit.
Next week, I'll be in Detroit.
One day of the week
I'll
I'm
pray
here.
for you, she says. I'll pray for you, she says.
When you come here, we'll teach you some prayer.
So when you come here, we can also teach you some prayers.
I was in Malaysia and doing our special sacrifices. We don't wear any shirts.
So I was in Malaysia, and during our sacrifices, we don't wear any shirts.
We just wear the
What do they call it?
I don't know what they call it, but
Anyways,
we call it shutter.
we call it chadar. It's just the,
He was one of the princes, Saudi, and he was at Hajj in Mecca.
so what Hajj? So the princess saw me. He saw the Hajj, and he was in Hajj in Mecca.
And he said that when they do Hajj, they don't wear any shirts.
And he said that when we do the Hajj, we don't wear any shirts.
The men, at least, they wear the type of white cloth.
And the men, at least, they wear this other type of white cloth.
So he was appreciating that you have the same kind of clothing.
So he was appreciating that you have the same kind of clothes.
Devotee Vishwambar, he wears like that.
Our devotee Vishwambar, he wears like that.
So he was saying that he was appreciating that.
So he was saying like that, and he was appreciating.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Yay!
Prasad,
Is there any prasad for her? Okay, yes. Guru Maharaj. So all devotees can come and get a blessing from Guru Maharaj, from Lord Jagannath's toothbrush, all the way from Puri.